What's going on, you guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Ziza Connection. Today we're connecting with someone who is technically in the future. How are you doing? And how is Australia? Am I right?
That's right. That's right. I am doing great. It's like 6 p.m. in the evening here on a Saturday. So yeah, in the future for you, everything's good over here. Life is good.
That's great, man. You are also a fellow podcaster. You
I
have
am,
your
yeah.
own show, and it's called the You Booked It Show, correct?
Indeed, yeah.
Yeah. And you have quite a few episodes under your belt. You're over 100 episodes, and I'm sure that's brought a number of different experiences to you, different conversations and interesting conversations, to say the least. So what is it that you're trying to focus on with these episodes? What are you trying to get to when you're talking to people?
Yeah, for sure. So the podcast is a very focused goal. I interview entertainment professionals, which is pretty broad.
Right.
My background is in the live performance, musical theater, stage, things like that. I've done loads of things, but really the bulk of my career, my wheelhouse is musical theater, being on the stage. And because of that, that's the majority of who I interview. But I've got people like, I got casting agents, like New York casting agents. I've got corporate producers and things like that do the corporate side of things, stage managers, film actors, musicians, authors, speakers, the whole gamut. Loads of Broadway actors. I've got Tony Award winners, everything. So the whole purpose of the podcast is really to talk about how to create a successful entertainment career. Because my personal experience is I went to the Boston Conservatory and for musical theater, which is, well, that's a whole nother conversation about getting a degree in musical theater, but went there and beautiful school, fantastic school. But I left that school into the real world. I had this amazing skill set, right? But I didn't know how to actually make that work for me, make that a business. How do I succeed in this industry with my skill set, right?
Right.
So I of course figured it out. Most all of us end up figuring it out, right? But through a lot of hiccups, a lot of bumps in the road, and a lot of screwing things up. So I thought, you know what? I'm going to figure out a way to help people that are aspiring to become professional entertainers, people that are in their entertainment career that want to maybe transition. Because look, say you're a dancer, you can't dance until you're 50 years old, on Broadway. You just can't. Or you don't even look the role anymore. You can't dance a role that a 20-year-old is supposed to be dancing in. You just can't do it.
Something like sports, there's a lifespan to it.
Exactly right. So people are looking all the time to transition their career. So instead of transitioning out and becoming an insurance salesman, well, let's transition out into another part of the entertainment industry, because it's so huge, it's so broad, so diverse, but we oftentimes just don't know these parts of the industry exist.
Right.
And my podcast also highlights those different things, that people that have made those transitions have found artistic fulfillment in different parts of the industry. And it's really about hunkering down and finding those fundamentals and those really like niche golden nuggets that you find that only pertain to very specific parts of the industry. And that's what it's about. It's very purposeful.
Right. So, I mean, I want to touch on like the very first part of what you were talking about, and that is going to, you studied in Boston, you said.
Yep.
And you got out and you were kind of like, hey, I got to figure this out now. And I feel like there's a lot of people, especially in that industry, right? Specifically in the theater section of entertainment, because theater is its own very specific niche of entertainment in its own. I feel like with entertainment in general, people kind of have this notion that you get out of school or you get out of training or you get out of doing whatever you did to hone in on your skill, and then someone's just going to discover you. I feel like that is the general consensus or understanding of someone who's coming into that world. Am I right there?
It can be, yeah. It's kind of like The Secret, It's one thing to just put out, what you want in the law of attraction, but you got to do the work, man. You got to go out there, and you have to be strategic about it. You can't just enter the world. You have to have all the things, all your ducks in a row.
Right.
Not all of them, obviously. All your ducks are never going to be in the row, so you eventually just have to go, right? But you have to have certain things. You have to have your headshots. You have to have your You have to have your music book. You have to have a show reel. And there's a lot of tools like that, like, especially with the show reel, that's a 2-minute, 3-minute video of just highlights of whatever it is that you do. So you can submit it to people and they can look at it and cast you from that. Those kinds of, like a show reel was never taught you need one of those, but I've booked more work off of my show reel than I can freaking count. So it's one of those things that you just learn as you go, but we need to highlight these things so people don't have to stumble over their feet. But yeah, so many people think they come into the industry and they're going to just magically get work because they're just so talented. Look, it doesn't matter how talented you are. You have to put yourself in front of the right kind of people and you have to show up consistently and do it. And you need to know what steps to take. It's hard work, man.
So with regard to, again, putting yourself in front of the right people and things of that nature, do you think today in 2020, right? How long have you been in this industry? How long have you spent time working around this?
Yeah, professionally entertaining, like making dollar bills professionally, 16 years.
Okay. So now compared to 2004, right? In 2004, I would presume that someone would tell you, hey, you need to go to one of those bigger cities where there are a lot of opportunities for this kind of a thing and go do that. Is it the same now today, or can someone from anywhere across the world, anywhere they are, find a way to get gigs and get booked and get jobs?
Right. Well, due to COVID, thank you, COVID, it's an interesting world right now.
Right.
The whole industry is basically gone flat. Nothing's really happening, especially in a live performance setting, right? Just barely starting to come back in some places. But COVID has forced us all to innovate. And the digital world of this industry is really picking up, and it's still finding its footing, right? They're having digital reads, digital auditions, and I mean, film acting has already been digital for quite a while. They've got this great website called Actors Access. You go on there, you see all the different posts or different roles, you read the sides, you film them, you submit them, and then whoever's going to, the producers or the casting directors, will review that content. So the film world has really been in the digitized part of things for quite a while now. But the theater world, very traditional. You gotta, because it's live, you kind of have to be in that city up until this point. But from interviewing different people on my show, it's becoming quite clear that a lot of these, even Broadway productions, they're going to start stretching out their arms and being like, we don't need to actually just see everybody in person anymore. We're open to getting submissions, opening it up to the whole world. And the cool thing is, when you're working at that caliber, if they want to see you in person, they'll fly you there. They'll pay for your ticket.
Oh yeah.
To the city, and they'll see you. So the whole idea of using technology, yes, it's happening. It's 100% moving in that direction, but it's still finding its footing in the live theater world for sure because COVID. But yeah, as far as moving to cities, it certainly helps to be in that hub. But what I will say about being in hubs is that you need to figure out where you want to be. A lot of people go, all right, I want to be an entertainer. I'll go to New York City because everything happens in New York City. And you're absolutely correct. Everything does happen in New York City. Right. But what a lot of people don't ask themselves is, what do you actually want out of your entertainment career? People rarely ask themselves that question. I didn't ask myself that question until way later into my career, because we all want different things. Some people want to be on Broadway. Some people want to be musicians or DJs or film actors or be on a sitcom or something like this. Everyone has their own idea of what they want to do. And every market being New York, Chicago, Las Vegas, LA, Dubai, UK, something, right?
Right.
Everyone has a different thing that they do best and they cater to really, really well. And there's also different lifestyles that come with different markets that you might live in. So really hunkering down and figuring out what it is that you want out of a career is, I think, the first step to figuring out, well, everyone says I should move to New York, but do I? Is New York really the place that's suited for me? Right. Maybe it is, but maybe it's not. Maybe Vegas is your jam, and Vegas is where you need to go, and you're going to be more fulfilled. Because I find when you ask yourself those questions, you become more clear about what it is that you want, that you show up, you have a more clear mission about what you're going forward to every single day. But also, you're going to be lighter, you're going to be happier. And that energy, that is what really gets portrayed, and the casting directors, the people that can actually hand you that contract, they see that. You know what I mean?
Right. And I
And
mean,
that is what makes you more successful.
I'm sure outside of your acting abilities, your singing abilities, whatever it is you're getting casted for, there has to be. So, a little background on myself, right? I
Yeah.
did 3-4 years of theater in high school after spending my entire childhood and young adult life being a combat sports kind of guy. So I
Okay,
grew up
cool.
doing martial arts and wrestling in school and things of that nature. And then I got injured in wrestling, and I had a lot of friends in the theater program, and I just followed suit and went and
Yeah.
tried out for or auditioned for a play and got into it. Right. So I love theater. It's super fun. Everything from set building and being involved with that to
Yeah.
rehearsals and reading lines, all of those things, super, super fun. My thing here is it seems as though there's a much more holistic approach to the way people are uh, uh, selecting who they want to be a part of their productions. As far as like it obviously has everything to do with your ability, but it also has to
Yes.
do with the person.
Ooh, yeah, you nailed it on the head. So I guess first off, I have a similar journey into the arts. I didn't start till I was late in high school. I played football, I played baseball, I got concussed out of football, would have needed elbow surgery if I kept playing baseball. So all of a sudden I had nothing to do. And then my sister's friends like, we need a guy to lift some girls, want to do it? And then the rest is history.
I see it.
But uh yeah. So in the entertainment world, in the performance world, there's so much out of your control. It's kind of crazy. You have to really, really be focused on you and be like, what can I control? Because you can't control how you look, your height, your eye color, your race, anything. All of these things become factors. And if you are getting cast for things, when it really does come down to getting cast in a show, if you're in that room auditioning with however many other people and you have a skill set that can legitimately do the thing, you can do the song, you can do the dance, whatever it might be that they need you to do. If you can do that, great. You just reached baseline, baby. That's it.
Right.
Like you just have you just are justified to be in that room.
Mm.
Why you get cast is everything that is out of your control.
Mm.
Is your height, your look, your eye color, the energy that you give off. Does it just vibe with the creative team? Do they already have maybe a principal in mind that they go, yep, we already have this one lead already cast. Is your height going to look good with them? Is your body composition, like myself personally, I'm 5'10", but I'm really muscular, right? Another 5'10" guy could be really skinny and he gets the job because they've cast more skinnier people, right? So I would look like the oddball out on stage. I would look huge. So it doesn't make any sense to cast me, but I can't control that. So that stuff happens all the time. And I've lost and gained gigs because of silly things like that.
Are these
So yeah, it
things
is
that are made are these things that are made aware to the people who are going to audition prior to, or are you just kind of showing up not knowing those small details that may or may not get you the role?
it depends on the gig. You know, some productions that you go in for, they'll say, look, we're looking for muscular men, or we're looking for, toned guys, or we're looking for this. And they can sometimes be a bit specific. Or if you are going for a musical and it's already running
Right.
and you know what the show is, you can get an idea of what they've been casting in the past. But for the most part, it really just depends on who's in that show at the moment as well. I've seen when I was in Vegas, I was performing. Well, I've not performed. I've kind of performed in the show. It's called Vegas the Show. Got loads of friends that have performed in that show, and they used to have a very short cast. And then there's another show called Jubilee that was a showgirl show. Beautiful, tall showgirl dancers, like 5'10" plus, right? Women. And there's a lot of showgirls in this Vegas the show. As soon as Jubilee closed, that entire Vegas the show became very tall. It just transitioned. So someone who auditioned a couple years ago before that was really tall would have never even been considered. But you go back a couple years later and now you're the perfect fit. And vice versa, right? Now that you're short, now you're kind of out of the game because they've slowly transitioned their cast into a taller cast. So nothing is really set in stone. It's really just fluid on what works and what fits for that particular moment. And that's what kind of makes this industry so crazy and tough and so subjective. So yeah, it is absolutely like a holistic approach to getting cast. It's not just the skill set, not at all.
Right, right. So what if there was a skill set that was necessary that had nothing to do with the actual act of acting or singing or anything like that? If there was one thing that people could do that would give them a better opportunity at getting cast more often, what would that thing be?
Yeah, being consistent with going out there and doing it. Because, and that's hard. I mean, it's very easy for me to say that. And it's very easy for anyone to say, hindsight 2020, just get up, go do it, put your put your entire soul on the line in these audition rooms. You're bearing everything, right?
Yeah.
And just do that again and again and again and again. And you'll get shut down. You'll fail 99 times out of 100, right? So it's very difficult emotionally. So it's about just doing the work and training and honing and staying true to the things that you can control, because that's all that's worth focusing on.
Right. And I mean, is there something of I would assume, again, I liken a lot of this to the sports world, right? A lot of what you're saying ties into what an athlete might go through, right?
Yeah.
Is there a training regimen for people who are in the entertainment world, like on their off days, for example, on the days where you're not really going into any auditions, or you're not really there's not a lot going on for you? Is there a training regimen that someone in the entertainment world might go through?
Yeah, for sure. But then again, that also kind of depends on your market and who you are.
Right.
Because it might not be, depending on who you are as an actor and the kind of character you are. If you're a character actor, that tends to be more of these comedic roles. Maybe you play a lot of roles that tend to have like more heavy set people. Then maybe getting super cut and fit's not really the thing that's going to help you out. Maybe your physical size is actually your greatest asset.
Right.
So it's hard to say. And then there's places like LA and Vegas, for instance, that are very, what's the word? Commercial. So it's really about the look and being cut and being muscular and being toned and fit. So yeah, if you're in that kind of a market,
well,
absolutely.
outside of even the physicality, right? When it comes to honing in on your acting skills as a whole, is that something that you see people like? I guess what I'm trying to get at is there a community, or do people seem to bunch up and practice their acting skills together?
For sure, there are master classes and loads of teachers and things like that you can join. You can go to classes for acting classes, which is great, because then you get into a room with a teacher, whoever it might be. They usually have whatever credentials, right? They've been there, done that, right? And you do scene work and you practice. And a lot of those classes also tend to be about observation. So yes, you get your opportunity to go in there and practice your craft and do the lines and be in that scene and work that. But a lot of that experience is also just observing other people do that work as well. See how other people's takes are on the exact same material. That's really interesting, and you can learn a lot from that. And
like, what
that
is
absolutely exists.
It's like, what is someone's interpretation of this scene in comparison to what my interpretation was when I read it?
Absolutely. And you can, and what it can be really interesting, especially in acting, is you can see someone do the exact same scene, right, in a different way, and you go, wow, that was really good. And then you can try to take that, but it doesn't work for you. The way they did it, like, it has to do with what they personally brought, their life experience. That played into the role perfectly for them, but for you to try to emulate or mimic that just doesn't read properly. So it's really interesting, but also sometimes there's other things. It's why it's so good to be in those environments so you can just observe and learn and then practice and hone it. And that's your opportunity to fail. That's your opportunity to fail in a safe place. Try things that are ridiculous and then figure it out, hone it down, and then you go to those calls and you do the submissions that are actually for the real gig.
Right. Let's switch gears here. Let's go into a bit more of a lighthearted topic. What who might be your favorite TV or film actor?
Ooh. You know who I really like is Dwayne Johnson.
Really interesting. Okay.
I like him because I like his personality. Look, he's I would be surprised if he ever won an Academy Award. You know what I mean?
Right.
And the movies that he's in, that I think the projects that he chooses to be part of, that's not what he's going after, though. It's not so much the way he is on screen. It's more about his energy and his work ethic and the way he just attacks his entire career. It's amazing. I mean, I was reading an article. God, it's a while now, but I think it was a Forbes article, and his estimated marketing value is $20 million plus. So if you hire him
Right.
to be in your movie, he's going to do an additional $20 million worth of advertising for you for free because of his network and his hustle. And he goes all out for any project that he's on. And I admire that so much.
Okay. And then favorite film.
Oh, ooh, that's tough.
Yeah. See, I'm hitting the hard hitting questions.
I know, those are the hard ones. Yeah. What's my favorite film? Oh,
maybe one that's impacted you, or one that in childhood impacted you, or gave you a really, like, to this day you can still watch it and get all those same emotions out of it.
Yeah, you know what movie I used to watch all the time is The Jackal.
I have never
with Bruce Willis.
I've never seen
it.
Yeah,
I had like on a VHS, man. It's like this really crazy movie where he's an assassin, and he goes out and people hire him, but it's just, I don't know, it's good.
I'll have to check it out.
To be fair, I haven't watched it in so long. I'll probably watch it now and be like, "Ooh, really?" But
I'll be sure to send you a DM after I watch it and be like,
you're like, I don't know if that is the best movie.
Yeah, right. That's awesome. That's
how I felt after the time I watched. I remember loving Ace Ventura.
Right.
And I remember years ago, and I watched it again. I was like, really? That's what I loved? It's like, I mean, it's funny, but it's,
there's really like a cult following of that whole subgenre of comedy films. When it comes to comedy films that are just like egregiously under, I guess they just don't have the greatest budget, right? They don't really think the movies are going to go very well, so they don't give them the largest budget. There's something really cult about following those kinds of films, like the old Ted and what movies? Bill and Ted movies.
Bill and Ted's Great Adventure.
Yep.
The White Castles.
All of them.
Yeah.
There's something about those comedy films that people to this day, they still seem to love them. So you never know what's going to hit. You know what I mean?
Super Troopers.
Yeah, right. You never know what's going to hit when it comes to film, I swear.
Yeah.
So you left Boston, and,
I did.
and when did you find, so how did you land in Australia?
Right. So my wife is Australian, so that's how I made it here. I went to Boston, moved to New York City, did the New York thing. And then I got the opportunity to go on a cruise ship that was really unique because it was going all around the world. It wasn't just doing the same 3 ports. It was going literally around the world. I think we went to 40 countries in one contract. And also it was a brand new ship with brand new shows. So I got to be part of creation with these world-class choreographers and create these shows and have them created on us, it's very unique to get that kind of an experience in the performance world. And so took that contract to my agent's dismay. And that's where I met who's my wife now, Jess. And to most easily work together, because she is Aussie, and I'm American, was to then perform on a couple other contracts. We did 2 more ship contracts because it was the easiest way for us to stay together and be together and work together. And then I moved to Australia for a year, worked here, performed here. And then we moved up to Vegas and did that for 7.5 years. And it's been great.
Yeah. So you're primarily focused, as far as the entertainment industry goes now, you're primarily focused on helping other entertainers, or are you still looking at doing your own types of shows and acting and work in that respect as well?
No, I'm still in the industry, professionally working. Yeah, and even my professional work, it's also gone down different lanes of just by saying yes to basically everything when it comes up, which opens up a whole nother network of people to, develop relationships with. So I do performance stuff. I do stage management, like the other side of the table. Like I call shows and things like this as well. I also work on the corporate production side. So think like Amazon comes to town and they're doing reInvent. That's a big show that I work on in Vegas. reInvent, 60,000 attendees, work on something like that and help, it needs a team of people to make that happen, right? Logistically and all of the different keynotes and all that stuff. It's not performance and it's not really stage management in a theater sense, but it's all the same skill set, but in a corporate setting. So a bit of that. And then, of course, I've got the podcast and then speaking and sharing how to navigate this wild and crazy industry.
So yeah, you're a man of many hats. You're a Swiss Army knife of sorts.
Yeah, you could say that.
That's awesome. And I'm sure that keeps it interesting for you too, having so many different facets of the entertainment industry as a whole that you can work in, personally.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I forever and always being on stage and performing will be my one true love, right? But I love doing the stage management stuff, the corporate stuff, because it works different parts of your brain. It's just different skill set. It's really entertaining and really exhilarating, I find, just in different ways. And that's just as fun. But I like it all, so why not dabble in all of it if you can? Yeah. I mean, it's what I like to do.
Right. Why not put your hand in a couple different buckets and see what you can pull out of it?
Exactly right. And that way the calls never stop.
Yeah, right. That's 100% true too. So you said your wife was also in the entertainment industry? She was acting with you on the ship contracts as well?
Yeah, she's a dancer. She's primarily a dancer. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. And she's still doing the same?
Yeah. We're both.
That's incredible. That's incredible. Because it's not often that you hear people have found a full-time career within entertainment and been able to sustain it. You know what I mean? At least my experience with people, I'm only 23, so I'm still technically in that age range where a lot of the people I know who are pursuing careers in entertainment are struggling, to say the least, at this point in time.
Yes.
So it's an interesting comparison to be making. And for example, I had someone like Tidy on the podcast, and Tidy is someone who's an Aussie, who got his first signing. He got his big break as a teenager. He was like 18 years old.
Yeah.
And he spent 10, 15 years in the music industry, doing his thing, and he got his start from there. So it's a very contrasting career path to take. There are some people who are starting off right at the ripe age of 18 and just carry it on out throughout life. Some people I feel like have 10 or 12 years of really good production, and then they kind of wheel off and go do something else. And then there are people like yourself who end up being Swiss Army knives and finding multiple different avenues to be working in the entertainment industry through.
Yeah, for sure. And then there's also the people that grow into their expertise. And I say that in a way that for specifically theater or musical theater or acting, people can have very kind of whatever mediocre careers through their 20s, maybe into their mid 30s. And then they get to like 36, 37. And now the way that they've aged, the experience that they had in life, all of a sudden they start hitting everything. And that's when they make it big. That's when they found their need. They just had to get older.
That's really interesting.
It's a weird industry. And like, that's why I said in the very beginning, it's so important to figure out what it is that you want out of this industry, because you can go 1,000,001 directions. I found happiness and fulfillment in the production side, the performance side, corporate stuff, a little bit of all of it. I love that. It keeps things fresh and new. I've never been someone who can just do the same show for years and years and years. If I spend a year and a half or so on a show, I'm just like, all right, as much as I love this, as much as I love that consistent paycheck, that's great. It's time to move on. It's time to do that next project.
I think I can relate to that just based on the shows that we used to do in high school, because you know what I mean? You spend 6 months on a show, you go to rehearsal, you build the set, you do all that work for it. And to some degree, for example, we'd have maybe 2 weeks of putting on the show. We do a Thursday, Friday, Saturday night, 2 weeks in a row. You do 6 shows, you're done.
Exactly right.
It was such a bittersweet feeling, because the first Thursday night you do it, you're exhilarated, you're ready to go. And then Friday, Saturday come and you feel like you're in your element. and then the next Thursday, Friday come, and you're kind of somber about the fact that it's ending, and then Saturday comes around and it's over, and you're both elated and you're bummed out. So it's a super bittersweet thing all of the time.
Oh, absolutely. Learning how to, and that is a huge challenge in this industry for sure. Every single live performer has to go through. How do you sustain your energy
right
for 10 shows a week, 12 shows a week? How do you do that? You know, and it's hard to, you really just have to do it and you figure it out yourself. Because, I mean, at the end of the day, if you're at that level, it's your job, right? So you're going to do it. But learning how to pace yourself through a show, learning how to pace yourself throughout a week, and still deliver such high energy and still be entertaining. You can't just relax,
right,
on stage. Like you're 1,000,000% from the moment you go, right? So, like, I've had friends of mine that will say, "Oh, well, how much did you work today?" I was doing a show in Vegas. It was called Pinup. It was great. There was one show a night, paid really well. I was like, "Well, my door to door is 3 hours. Like from leaving my house to being back at my house was 3 hours. It's a 3 hour work day, 5 days a week." And people are like, "That's amazing." You're like, right. But you realize how productive I am in those 3 hours. Like it's nonstop. I make this production company, the company that's hired me, a lot of money in that 3 hours by putting on that show, you know? So it's also that. And it's not just that, it's also going to the gym, eating right, making sure that your entire lifestyle revolves around being prepared and perfect to do that show. So it's a weird mentality to have, but something you eventually deal with, and it's fun to be in a show for long term as well. You learn little fun things to do with the characters and play with people on stage, and you really get to have a good time performing and enjoy the performance of it because you don't have to really think about your words or your choreography anymore. You just do it and you can live in it properly, and it's really cool.
You kind of break that barrier of acting as your character to becoming your character. It's kind of
Exactly
that
right.
switch that comes on and off without you needing to do anything.
Yeah, and it just happens. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? And you just let your body live in those moments. And when you get to that point, you're like, "Ooh, this is cool." You
Yeah.
love it. That's
Yeah.
what's addictive about this industry.
Yeah. If there's anything I miss about theater, it's definitely that aspect more than anything. Once you're in that zone and you know your character better than you know yourself while you're on stage,
Yeah,
it's like it feels like a whole different world.
exactly
Let's
right.
let's chat a bit about what it's like backstage. What is the backstage world like? What is that like for someone who's in the entertainment industry? Is it all fun and games? Is it stressful back there? You know what I mean? What is the energy like when you're behind the stage and you're getting ready to go on stage for your moment, or what is that like?
Yeah, well, I guess it kind of depends on the show and the people you're with, for sure.
Right.
Because I've had dressing rooms that have been very quiet, and everyone just kind of sits down and does their thing and gets ready and puts on their makeup and puts on their costume and away they go. But other ones, but I would say the majority of dressing rooms I've been in, it's fun.
Yeah.
It's so much fun. You're with a group of people that you love being around. Everyone is really talented. Everyone's there to do really high caliber work and just go kick butt on stage. And you have a great time and you joke around. Everyone's basically naked and you're just having a good time and changing costumes and making things happen and playing jokes on people as they're running out the door. And then, as soon as you get to the stage, you flip it on and you're like, "Phew," and everyone just is so pro and they go do their job. They come back and everyone has a good time. So the majority of the time, it's a lot of fun.
So is there a direct relationship or interaction between the people who are acting in the show and the people who are working the show behind the scenes?
It depends. So as far as stage crew, like the people running flies or curtains and things like that, like the techs, they tend to stay in their own place because that's their job. Because I mean, it's very very important that they're doing what they do and listening to their calls and make sure because people get hurt when things don't fly properly.
Right.
So it's very serious for them to do that. So they kind of have their own world, but then you have the backstage, say the dressers and things like this. You've got the wardrobe department, and there's been so many times where you have quick changes where you are off stage literally as short enough time or just long enough to get into a new costume. And that new costume is not like, yeah, unfold it and everything. Like you've already scrunched up all of your leg holes in your pants. You throw your pants off, you step into your leg holes, you pull up your shoes are already basically ready to go, slip on, everything. And then there's people backstage as well. Sometimes you'll be on the stage and your pants will blow out, right? And you'll have whatever, and you have to go, I need a new pair of pants. And someone will come grab you a new pair of pants, and then you'll run off stage real quick, put a new pair on. Or there's been instances where I've had something tear, and I'm standing there literally side stage with my costume on, and I'm being sewn back into my costume. And they get it all done, pull the string, and away you go. And it can be crazy chaotic, but that's part of the fun.
Right. Yeah. Dude, putting out fires is a good time.
Yeah, it is. Really and you have a good time, and you leave and you go have a drink about it, and you joke about it, and then you go do it again.
Yeah. If anything, it sounds like you would have you'd have a great time at a dinner party just telling stories about your work. Something not a lot of people can do when it comes to their work life, I guess.
For sure. And I was just telling someone this the other day that what I love about performing is, okay, look, if you're doing, say, 10 shows a week in a show, it is impossible to be jacked up for 10 shows a week all the time, every week of the year, right? You go in days and you just don't feel good, right? Or you just don't feel like you got all that energy. But I tell you what, every single time, barring the fact that I was actually properly sick, every single time I've not felt good for a show and I'm a bit low energy or a bit sore or tired, by the time that show's done, man, I'm on cloud 9. I am happy. I'm excited because I just spent an hour and a half, 2 hours smiling and pretending to be happy, which actually just translated and created me to be happy. Like I turned into a happy person again, full of energy because I've been being that character, right? So I've never left a show being like, oh, thank God that's over. That's awful.
Well, on the flip side of that coin, have you ever had to play a part where your character was unhappy and then you've come out of it feeling unhappy because that was the essence of your character?
Yeah, that's hard too. Yeah, that's a real thing. And that's when you have to really be cautious about how you pace yourself through a show and how much emotion you can give. For sure. That is a real thing, to play with the flip side of the coin. But because those are sadder, more negative emotions. Personally, I'm much more open to being happy, right? I want to be happy. So I will let those emotions carry into me and let them permeate through my being, right? So I'm happy at the end of the show. If I'm playing sad things, I'm sad, but I also will, it's like I don't know how to explain it, besides kind of putting up like these emotional barrier walls where I'm like, I'll only let that emotion go so deep and affect me so much.
Kind of like, what I mean? Compartmentalizing it to it.
Yeah, I'm like, I gotta go. Okay, it can only go so far because I gotta go do this tomorrow. I mean, if you were doing film or something like that, then sure, you can go all the way because you have to do it all the way, maybe for a couple takes, and you're done.
Yeah, there's definitely a big difference in that. And I mean, we've even seen horror stories of actors who have gone all in on parts that were a little bit more somber, or the character was an angry person, and even in film, we've seen that go south. So, Heath Ledger, I think, is the one that comes to mind for everybody.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, I mean, it's tricky to navigate, and it's one of those things that you have to figure out for yourself when you get the opportunity to do something, because it's also really fulfilling, I think, to play those kinds of roles as well.
Just because you're giving yourself. So is it the fact that you're showing yourself that you can do it, or is it something deeper than that?
I think it's about experiencing the breadth of human emotion and getting the opportunity and the material to really do it and go there. And we just don't usually, and to kind of have a practice at it and not have it be real life. Because to have things be real life that really hurts you that much, or to be that sad or upsetting, no one wants to go through that. But to play at it is an amazing experience, because it's a rare experience that people get to have.
Yeah.
And I think that's pretty cool.
That's something, to say the least. Honestly, there are probably very, very, very few people, if you look at it percentage-wise, on the planet who have ever had the opportunity to do that kind of a thing. So that's super interesting. I hadn't really thought about that until this moment. But even giving yourself the opportunity to become upset over a situation that, I don't know, acting is a very odd thing to me, right? Like in its in what it is, right? In what acting really, really is. Acting is a very strange thing to be almost pretending as though you are someone feeling something, and to go so far as to really believe it and be able to pull it off and show other people that maybe this is actually happening for you. That's a crazy thought to have. Crazy.
Yeah, and in a lot of ways, and it really is happening to you. You know, in that moment, you really have to go there.
Right.
And you have to believe it, which is weird. You're right. It's full on weird.
Yeah. Yeah. Very bizarre.
And it's cool when it's vulnerable too. That's why this industry is so difficult. It's one thing to be in a show and to be cast and be like, look, I got the contract. I'm doing the role, I'm doing that. But when you have to go into audition rooms and try to go there and then be like, not next, that's tough. That's full on. You know, that's hard on your emotions and your well-being.
Right. Right. Most definitely. Yeah, I want to give you the floor, man. I want to let you go ahead and talk about what you have going on in your life, where people can find you. You know, what are you about? What are you trying to do, and where people can find you?
Yeah, man. Thank you for that.
Absolutely.
So You Booked It podcast. Make sure you check it out. Primarily, if you are currently a professional entertainer or you're aspiring to be a professional entertainer, like in any part of the industry, come check it out. If you know somebody who is part of that industry, let them know about the podcast. If you're an educator, if you own a dance studio or a voice studio, you're an acting coach, you're a professor, anything, if you are an educator in the arts, get your students to listen to this. When I started this project, I knew I was going to have a good time. I knew I was going to find some cool fundamentals about how to create a successful career in this industry. Did not realize what it was actually going to become and that it was going to be this impactful for people's careers. At this point, You Booked It literally is the number one resource of expertise on the subject of specifically how to create a successful career in the entertainment industry. And literally every single episode is literally a masterclass that is free. There's more content there than university programs, master classes, conferences that you can go to, and it's all just there. It's integral to your success in this industry. Listen to it. It's so good. You get such a diverse range of expertise on this industry from so many different parts of the industry. So if you want to check it out, please, you can search for You Booked It on literally any platform that you can listen to podcasts, or go to youbookeditpodcast.com. Check me out on Instagram at youbookeditpodcast. Subscribe so you don't miss an episode, because there's a new one every single day, and enjoy it.
Thank you. Thank you so much. That'll be linked down below for you guys. youbookeditpodcast.com will be linked down below. Make sure to go click on that. Again, anywhere you listen to podcasts, you can find that. So make sure to go subscribe on your primary podcast listening platform. Especially, like he said, if you're in the entertainment industry or have any interest in the entertainment industry, the internet is your home nowadays. You can find information on just about anything. And with people like this, who are obviously passionate about what they do and obviously have the expertise to be saying, talking about the things they're talking about, this is an incredible resource for you guys. So I really hope you take advantage of it for sure. I want to say thank you for coming on the show, for, obviously given our time differences here. You're in Australia, I'm here. It was nice to make sure that we can make this happen. And hopefully we can do an update podcast at some point in time in the future as well.
Yeah, mate, that'd be fantastic. And thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me as well and have me on your show.
Pleasure was all mine, brother. Thank you so much. You have a good rest of your day. I'm going to go to sleep.
you do that. I'm going to have a glass of wine.
I'll talk to you later, brother.
Bye.
Bye-bye.